Life Stories invites you to experience a tale of redemption, resilience, and the power of kindness. In this moving story, Clara, a shy and kind-hearted girl, finds herself at the mercy of cruel classmates, including Dylan, the popular but arrogant boy whose actions lead to life-changing consequences. With the unexpected courage of Noah, Clara transforms her life, while Dylan learns hard lessons about humility and empathy. Join us as we dive into this heartfelt journey, filled with profound life lessons and moments of self-discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to Life Stories to start today's powerful tale. At Oak Ridge Academy, Clara stood out not for reasons she wished. She was an 18-year-old girl with a quiet demeanor, kind-hearted but painfully shy, and carrying more weight than her peers. At 265 pounds, she often endured the cruel comments and relentless stares of her classmates. Her days at school were marked by whispers, giggles, and pointed fingers. But worse than the teasing was the isolation. Clara didn't have anyone to turn to, no friends to confide in. Her world felt small and confined, painted in the dull shades of loneliness. Her solace was found in daydreams, dreams of being noticed, valued, and, most of all, loved. In those dreams, one face often stood out: Dylan, the golden boy of Oak Ridge Academy. Dylan was the epitome of charm and confidence. His bright smile and effortless popularity made him the center of every social gathering. Clara had harbored a quiet crush on him for as long as she could remember. She never entertained the idea of him noticing her. Dylan lived in a world far removed from hers. But that didn't stop her from imagining what it might be like if he did. One day during lunch, Clara sat alone at her usual table, absently picking at her sandwich while trying to ignore the snickers from nearby classmates. Out of nowhere, Dylan approached her. Her heart skipped a beat as he smiled at her, a smile she had only seen from afar. "Hey, Clara," he said smoothly. "I'm having a party at my place this weekend. You should come." Clara froze. Was this real? She glanced around, half expecting to see someone else standing behind her. But no. Dylan's gaze was fixed on her. Her cheeks flushed, and she stammered, "Me? You want me to come?" "Of course," Dylan said with a grin. "See you there." As he walked away, Clara felt a surge of excitement she hadn't known in years. Was this her chance to step out of the shadows? To be noticed? To belong? She convinced herself that this was more than an invitation, it was an opportunity. Determined to make a good impression, Clara threw herself into preparations for the party. She rented a stunning dress, borrowed a luxury car, and even pooled money from her savings to buy an expensive gift for Dylan. It was a stretch financially, but she didn't care. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope. This is the beginning of something new, she thought, allowing herself to believe in the possibility of change. The night of the party arrived, and Clara was a bundle of nerves as she pulled up to Dylan's sprawling house in the borrowed car. The sound of laughter and music spilled out into the crisp night air. She stepped inside, clutching the carefully wrapped gift, her heart pounding in anticipation. Dylan was standing near the entrance with a group of his friends. When he saw her, his face lit up. "Clara, you made it," he said, his voice warm and inviting. Emboldened, she handed him the gift, smiling shyly. For a moment, she thought she saw genuine appreciation in his eyes. But then something shifted. Dylan turned to his friends and called for everyone's attention. "Hey, everyone," he shouted. "I have an announcement to make." Clara's heart raced. Was he about to thank her in front of everyone? A small smile crept onto her face as she allowed herself to hope. Instead, Dylan's voice rang out with cruel clarity. "I bet my friends I could get the ugliest girl in school to come to my party, and guess what? I won." The room erupted in laughter. Clara felt the color drain from her face. The walls seemed to close in around her as the realization sank in. Her humiliation wasn't over. One of Dylan's friends had been recording the entire exchange, And soon the video would be plastered across social media for everyone to see. Unable to bear the laughter and mocking stares, Clara turned and fled the house, tears streaming down her face. She ran until her legs gave out, collapsing on a park bench under the cover of darkness. The betrayal cut deep, not only because of Dylan's cruelty but because, for a brief moment, she had dared to hope. The days that followed were a waking nightmare. The video spread like wildfire online, and Clara became the subject of endless ridicule. Strangers called her cruel names, and her classmates mocked her openly in the hallways. She stopped attending school, too ashamed to face the jeers. When she finally summoned the courage to return, the whispers and laughter were waiting for her. As she walked into the classroom, Dylan's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Hey, Clara, back for another round," he sneered, sending the room into fits of laughter. But then something unexpected happened. Noah, a quiet boy who always sat at the back of the class, stood up. "Leave her alone," he said, his voice trembling but firm. The room fell silent, shocked by his defiance. Dylan turned on him immediately. "Why don't you mind your own business? Noah, everyone knows your mom's just a maid in my house. She cleans my room and washes my dirty clothes." The class laughed again, but this time the sound felt hollow. Noah stood his ground, his eyes blazing with determination. "That doesn't give you the right to treat people like garbage," he said. For Clara, Noah's bravery was a lifeline. After school, she approached him. "Thank you," she said softly, "and I'm sorry for what Dylan said." Noah shrugged, offering her a small, kind smile. "Don't worry about it," he said. "Sometimes you just have to stand up, even when it's hard." Their conversation was brief, but it planted a seed in Clara's heart. For the first time, she saw a glimmer of hope in the form of someone who understood what it felt like to be on the receiving end of cruelty. Little did she know, this was the beginning of a friendship that would change both of their lives. Clara's days at Oak Ridge Academy became slightly less unbearable after Noah's unexpected act of courage. While the taunts and jeers hadn't stopped, she found solace in their budding friendship. Noah, though reserved, was a kind soul who understood what it meant to feel small in a world determined to belittle you. They began spending more time together, walking home after school or sitting on the steps of Clara's house, sharing quiet conversations about their struggles. One afternoon, Clara learned more about Noah's life than she had ever expected. As they walked, a sleek black car pulled up beside them. Clara glanced over, surprised to see the driver lean out of the window and call for Noah. "Get in. Noah. You're late," the driver barked impatiently. Noah hesitated, then muttered, "I'll walk." The car sped off, leaving Clara confused. "Wait," she said, her brows furrowed. "You live with Dylan?" Noah sighed, clearly reluctant to talk about it. "Yeah. My mom works for his family. She's their housekeeper. We live in their guest house." Clara was stunned. "And he treats you like that? He won't even let you ride in the car?" Noah gave a small, bitter laugh. "That's Dylan for you. His parents took us in when my dad left. They're kind. But Dylan, he's different." Hearing this, Clara's anger toward Dylan deepened. His cruelty wasn't limited to her, it was a pattern, a way of life. She had once thought her humiliation was the worst he could do. But now she realized his callousness had far-reaching consequences. That evening, when Clara dropped Noah off at Dylan's house, she caught a glimpse of the grand estate. It was everything one would expect of Oak Ridge's most affluent family: a sprawling lawn, towering columns, and gleaming windows. But inside, the warmth was notably absent. Noah's mother was on her knees, scrubbing the floor as tears streamed down her face. "Mom, what's wrong?" Noah rushed to her side. His mother looked up, her voice trembling. It was Dylan. "He came home angry and poured water everywhere. I told him to stop, but he just laughed and called me names." Clara's hands clenched into fists. Watching Noah's mother endure such treatment ignited a fire in her. "This has to stop," she muttered. But Noah shook his head. "We can't afford to lose this job. Clara. As much as I want to stand up to him, we need this." Clara's anger simmered. She understood Noah's hesitation but couldn't shake the growing determination within her to change things, not just for herself, but for Noah and his mother too. Over the following weeks, Clara and Noah spent more time together. Their walks turned into gym sessions after Clara confided in Noah about her struggles with her weight and self-esteem. "I want to feel strong," she told him one day. "Not for anyone else, just for me." Noah nodded, his face lighting up with encouragement. "Then let's do this together." They started small, jogging through the park and doing light exercises. Noah helped Clara develop a healthier routine, and each day she grew more confident. The cruel laughter that had once haunted her began to fade into the background. For the first time, Clara felt a sense of control over her life. Meanwhile, Dylan's behavior at school worsened. His arrogance knew no bounds, and he thrived on belittling others. He began planning an elaborate entrance for the upcoming prom, hoping to outshine everyone. His scheme involved pretending to date a famous actress, Elise. Clara, however, saw an opportunity to turn the tables on him. Her cousin Elise, a rising actress, was amused when Clara explained her idea. "So, you want me to help you teach Dylan a lesson?" Elise asked with a mischievous grin. Clara nodded. "I just want him to understand how it feels to be humiliated." Elise agreed, and the plan was set. Clara, posing as Elise, began messaging Dylan. To her surprise, his responses were shockingly sweet, nothing like the arrogant persona he displayed at school. Clara laughed at his cluelessness, but deep down, she felt a sense of poetic justice brewing. Prom night approached, and Clara's transformation became more evident. Her workouts with Noah had not only helped her physically but also mentally. She felt stronger, more confident, and ready to face whatever came her way. With Noah by her side, she knew she wasn't alone. When prom finally arrived, Dylan was eagerly awaiting his date. Clara and Noah, now closer than ever, decided to attend together. Clara wore a stunning dress that accentuated her newfound confidence, while Noah looked dashing in a tailored suit. They arrived at the venue, their heads held high, ready to show the world how far they had come. As Clara walked into the hall, heads turned. Whispers filled the air as classmates struggled to reconcile the confident young woman before them with the girl they had once mocked. But Clara wasn't focused on them, she was focused on herself, on reclaiming her story. In the meantime, Dylan was pacing outside, waiting for his actress date to arrive. Little did he know, the biggest surprise of the night was yet to come. Prom night had descended on Oak Ridge Academy with all its glittering grandeur. The school gymnasium was transformed into a shimmering wonderland, complete with sparkling lights and elegant decorations. Students in their finest attire mingled, their laughter and chatter echoing through the hall. For Dylan, it was supposed to be his crowning moment, the night he solidified his status as the school's king of popularity. Dylan stood outside the venue, his rented luxury car gleaming under the soft glow of the streetlights. He adjusted his perfectly tailored suit, his confidence radiating as he waited for Elise, the famous actress he believed was his date. Dylan's mind buzzed with visions of the grand entrance they would make, the envy and awe of his peers, and the satisfaction of outshining everyone else. When a message popped up on his phone, his excitement reached its peak. "I'm outside," it read. Dylan quickly glanced around, his eyes landing on a figure standing near the parking lot, a woman in a long coat and a mask covering her face. He hurried over, his confusion quickly overridden by his anticipation. "Why the mask?" he asked, his tone playful. "I have a surprise planned," the masked woman replied, her voice low and mysterious. Dylan grinned, assuming it was part of Elise's dramatic flair. He extended his arm, and together they walked toward the gym. Whispers rippled through the crowd as students turned to watch. Dylan held his head high, basking in the attention. Inside the hall, the music stopped as Dylan stepped onto the stage. Dragging the masked figure with him, grabbing the microphone, he addressed the crowd, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce my date for the evening, the one and only Elise." The crowd gasped. Their curiosity piqued. "Take off the mask," someone shouted. Dylan smirked. This was the moment he had been waiting for. He reached over, gently tugging at the mask, preparing to reveal the stunning face of a celebrity. But when the mask came off, the hall erupted, not in admiration, but in laughter. Standing beside Dylan was not Elise, the glamorous actress he had promised, but an elderly homeless woman. Her unkempt hair and toothless grin stood in stark contrast to Dylan's polished appearance. For a moment, Dylan froze, his mind struggling to process what had just happened. The humiliation hit him like a tidal wave as laughter and mocking jeers filled the room. His classmates pointed and snapped photos, their phones capturing every second of his downfall. "What's the matter, Dylan?" someone shouted. "Not the grand entrance you planned?" Dylan's face turned crimson as he stumbled back, dropping the microphone. The woman beside him cackled, clearly in on the joke. Dylan fled the stage, his heart pounding with shame. He burst out of the hall, desperate to escape the ridicule. In the parking lot, Dylan's humiliation turned to rage as he spotted Clara and Noah arriving. Clara looked stunning in a fitted dress, her confidence radiating as she walked arm in arm with Noah, who exuded quiet dignity in his tailored suit. Dylan could hardly believe his eyes. The girl he had mocked and humiliated was now the center of attention for all the right reasons. "Clara," he choked out, his voice a mix of shock and anger. What's going on?" Clara paused, meeting his gaze with calm resolve. "What's going on, Dylan? Is that you finally got what you deserved?" Dylan didn't wait for a reply. Overwhelmed, he ran to his rented car and sped off into the night, his vision blurred by tears of frustration and shame. He barely noticed the road ahead until it was too late. The car skidded and slammed into a tree with a deafening crash. Dazed and trembling, Dylan stumbled out of the wrecked car. The luxury vehicle he had rented for the sole purpose of impressing his peers was now a mangled heap. Panic set in as he realized the consequences of his reckless actions. His mind raced as he pulled out his phone, dialing his parents. The calls went unanswered. When he finally arrived home, he found the doors locked. Confused, he tried his key, but it no longer fit. A sinking feeling settled in his chest. Moments later, his phone buzzed with a text from his father. "Dylan, we know everything, the stolen jewelry, the lies, and the cruel pranks. We're done. You're no longer welcome here. Go back to your grandmother's house." The words hit him harder than any insult ever could. He stood on the doorstep, the weight of his actions crashing down on him. All the privilege he had taken for granted, the family who had given him a home after his mother's death, and the classmates he had tormented, all of it was gone. Dylan sank to the ground, tears streaming down his face as he realized the magnitude of his mistakes. His mind replayed every cruel act, every moment he had chosen arrogance over kindness. He thought of Clara, Noah, and Noah's mother, and the pain he had caused them. For the first time, he saw himself for who he truly was. As the night stretched on, a taxi pulled up to the driveway. Dylan didn't resist as the driver loaded his meager belongings and drove him to his grandmother's small house in the countryside. The lights of the city faded into the distance, leaving Dylan alone with his thoughts and the heavy burden of regret. At his grandmother's modest home, Dylan sat on the worn steps, staring into the quiet night. He knew his life would never be the same. The boy who had once reveled in cruelty and entitlement was now forced to face the harsh truth: he had lost everything. And for the first time, he began to wonder if he could ever make things right. In the end, Dylan sat alone on the worn steps of his grandmother's home. reflecting on the privileges he had squandered and the pain he had caused. His arrogance had cost him everything: the trust of his family, the respect of his peers, and the comfort of a life he had taken for granted. The boy who once thrived on belittling others now understood the depth of his mistakes. Meanwhile, Clara and Noah found strength in their friendship, rebuilding their lives with courage and kindness. Clara embraced her newfound confidence, while Noah continued to be a beacon of resilience. This story reminds us of the profound impact our actions have on others and the importance of empathy, humility, and change. If you were inspired by this tale, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Life Stories for more heartfelt and meaningful narratives. Stay tuned for our next story.